When I met him, I was 25 years old, and when I first got acquainted with him, I used a lot of excuses as to why I wasn't doing well. And he said, well, tell me a little bit about your story. And I told him, you know, I was behind on my bills, had pennies in my pocket and nothing in the bank, that I was embarrassed about being behind on my big mouth promises to my family. And then he gave me one little simple phrase that really forever changed my life. And here's what he said: Mr. Rohn, if you want the future to change for you, you've got to change. And he said, if you don't change, the next 6 years of your life is going to be just like the last 6. You'll still be behind on your bills. You'll still be behind on your promises. But then he gave it to me in the form of a promise. When I was 25 years old, I've remembered it all these years, and I've shared this promise now with probably over 3 million people in the last 30 plus years. And it's going to be valid for you, so listen carefully to this promise. My teacher said to me, young man, if you will change, everything will change for you. If you will get better, everything will get better for you. What a clear message that was for me. He said, if you'll change your philosophy, if you'll change your habits, if you'll refine your thinking, if you'll change and accept some new disciplines, if you'll turn the corner where you've been in the past, go for a new life for the future, he said all kinds of remarkable things will happen for you if you will change. Before I met Mr. Schoaf, I used to cross my fingers and say, I sure hope things will change. I was hoping the government would change and the tax structure would change and that my boss would change and pay me more money. I was hoping that, you know, economics would change and prices would come down. And I was hoping that circumstances would get better. And then I discovered from my teacher that those things are going to continue the same. In fact, all of those things that happen to us is kind of like the wind that blows. And the wind blows on us all. In fact, in America especially, the last 6,500 years of recorded history, we've got probably the most favorable wind that's ever blown. Economics and circumstances, living in a free country, democracy and freedom, an excellent economy. Sure, we struggle at times, but compared to the rest of the world in the last 6,500 years, we've got the best wind ever. But if you just let the wind blow, I'm telling you, it won't take you where you want to go. All of us must use this wind to take us to the dreams we've got, to the equities we want, to the money we want, to the income we want, and to all the things we want our life to have. This is where we want to go, and we've got a good wind, but we must not leave our future just to the wind, just to the economy, just to the structure of the way things are happening today. Here's what we must learn to do, and that is set a good sail. And if you'll learn to set a good sail, and that's what my teacher taught me in those early days. He said, Mr. Rohn, the wind is going to blow however it's going to blow. Politics are going to be politics, and the economy is going to be the economy. And however it turns out, that's the way it's going to be. What you must learn to do is not to wish for a better wind. That's naive. The key is to wish for the wisdom and the skills and the learning so that you can set a better sail. And so that's what I did at age 25. I went to work not on the economy. I went to work not on the community. I didn't go to work to try to change the government. I didn't go to work to try to change my boss or the company. I didn't go to work to try to change circumstances. I went to work to try to change myself. Now, there's a Bible story that teaches the law of averages. It's an interesting story called the parable of the sower. The sower in the ancient days was the guy that planted the crops. They called him the sower. They got the ground ready, and this guy called the sower was the planter of the crops. And he would take a bag of seed, walk across the field, and he would, sow the seed and plant the crops. They called him the sower. Now, the story of the sower is a typical story of life and people and results and what you can expect. Right? And then you let the obvious be your best teacher. First, the sower was a wise man. And when you read the whole story, you'll come to the conclusion the sower was a wise man, which is a high advantage. Right? You don't want to send a dummy out to plant. Right? We will all starve come fall. The sower had excellent seed. He didn't settle for something cheap and second best. He was highly ambitious. And when you read the whole story, you'll come to the conclusion this man was ambitious, which is an admirable quality, ambition. And then he went to work. Now the story with the sower, with the excellent seed, highly ambitious, opportunity all around him, he has the capacity, he's got the seed, everything's ready, and he starts out to sow, to get some results. Now it's an interesting story about what happened to him. It's a typical story of life, but it's fascinating. Here's what it says. He starts out to sow the seed early in the morning, but the first part of the seed that he sows falls by the wayside, and the birds get it. He's sowing this good seed, highly ambitious man sowing this good seed, and the birds are grabbing it. He sows some more and the birds grab that. He sows some more and the birds grab that. Now, remember, this is a typical story of life and people. Now, is that fairly typical? See, I got to tell you as a leader, the birds are going to get some of the seed. You get a hold of John. Let's say you're in real estate, right? Somebody here's in real estate. You get a hold of John. John says, hey, I'm looking for a change. I need a new occupation change. And I've heard about real estate. You say, John, come on over Friday night. We're going to have this orientation class. And we'll show you how to do it. Might be the new life for you. Earn the money you want to earn. Get your life turned around. Who knows what'll happen? John says, sounds great to me. I'll be there on Friday night. Learn all about it. I'll probably be one of your best salesmen. Say, okay, see you Friday night. Now, come Friday night, 7:30, supposed to start. John's not there. Say, well, maybe the traffic's a little heavy. So we wait till 7:45. About 8 o'clock, we come to the conclusion. He's not going to show. Question. What's happened since this unique conversation that you had with John, and you dropped on him this great idea? You've got the explanation, helped change his life. He said he would agree to be there, and he's not there. What's probably happened between then and Friday night? The birds done got the boy. Got him. And who knows who the heck it might be, right? Maybe it's his brother-in-law, right? Says, real estate, you're not going to mix up in that, are you? Talked him out of it. Or his plumber. Says, let me tell you about real estate. His plumber. Now, if you get the message back as to what happened, see, here's where you might get off track. There's a couple of things you can do when the birds are grabbing the seed. One is you can chase birds. Say those dirty birds, and away you go after the birds. You say, wait till I get a hold of his brother-in-law. I'll straighten him out. Tear him a new page. What does he know about real estate? His plumber. Now, see, you're off trying to straighten things out, rather than accepting it as it is. The best study of life is how it is, not how you wish it to be, not how you wish to rearrange it, how to take advantage of how it is. Some people would rather get even than to get ahead. They get off course. See, if you're off chasing birds, you have left the field. You're not sowing anymore. Now your chances go down instead of up. There's some things you don't try to cure. There's some things you ignore. Here's what it said this wise sower did. It said he ignored the birds, and he kept on sowing. How clever. There's some things you just got to accept. That's the way it is. So he keeps on sowing. And here's the key. If you keep sowing, you can sow more than the birds can get. But the birds are part of life. And don't press me why I didn't arrange all this. I don't know. It's just the way it is. So he keeps on sowing. Now the story says this sower keeps on sowing. Now the seed falls on shallow ground, rocky ground, where the soil is shallow. And it says the little plant starts to grow. This time, the birds didn't get it. But the first hot day, these little plants wither and die. Now that's kind of disappointing, isn't it? But see, that's bound to happen. This time you recruit John. John says, I'll be one of your best. He doesn't show up at the third meeting. You say, where's John? Say, I don't know. Somebody said, boo. And he...
They've heard about somebody with a similar health challenge, or have read about somebody with a similar health challenge that went about making significant changes in how they think, how they act, and how they feel. And over a period of time, the disease went away, and without any exogenous substance. Other people come because they want to create a new life, a new job, a new career, a new opportunity. Some people come because they're chasing the mystical and they want to have those profound mystical experiences. And I think everybody comes for their own reasons. But what we're learning now is that in these 7-day events, and I'll talk about why we do those 7-day events in a minute, but there comes a point where people start experiencing a greater level of wholeness. And when you start seeing that kind of coherence that goes on in the brain and coherence that goes on in the heart, and we measure this, when you feel so whole and so complete, that you're happy with yourself, and you probably will want less. And you're less reliant on anything outside of you to bring you joy. And I think that kind of is who we are innately. So people come for all kinds of reasons, and they think it's because they want wealth, or they want health, or they want a new relationship. But it's who they become in the process, because that's what you take with you. And so we were doing these 4.5-day advanced events, and what I noticed is right around the last day or so, people were having significant transformations. And I started realizing, God, if we had just 3 more days with them, what could we accomplish? So we started doing these 7-day events, and the events are an opportunity for people to retreat from their lives, to remove the constant stimulation in their external environment that reminds them of who they think they are as a personality. To separate themselves from the people they know and the places they go and the things that they do at the exact same time every day in that routine program. Long enough for me to remind them of what they already know, that they are the creator of their life. And so if you can combine a little neuroscience with a little quantum physics, with a little neuroendocrinology, with a little psychoneuroimmunology, a little bit of epigenetics, all of those new sciences really point the finger to what's possible. So people that come to the week-longs are people that are experienced in doing this work. We want them to be practicing at home because I'm going to stretch them outside of their comfort zone. And the first day is always the big day, because when you come, people have to get beyond themselves. And after looking at 8,500 brain scans, I now know without a doubt that you and I are at our absolute best when we get beyond ourselves. And there's a formula in helping people to do that. Now, when you forget about yourself, you're moving into a very creative process. You're not thinking about what you look like, you're not thinking about what you eat, you're not thinking about your past or all your problems or your pain, you're not thinking about your name. In fact, you dissociate from everything that's known for you, and that's the creative process, stepping into the unknown. So the first day, I challenge people to get beyond themselves, and so they'll learn, I'll remind them of some of the basics, and then we're going into a meditative process for different parts of the day, and they're working on taking their attention off their body, off the people in their life. Now think about this. The stronger the emotion that you feel to some problem or some condition in your life or some person in your life, the more you pay attention to that person or problem. And if where you place your attention is where you place your energy, in fact, you're giving your power away to a lot of the problems in your life because that's where your attention is. If you're in a routine of waking up every morning and running through the same behaviors as you did the day before, if you wake up in the morning and you have to think about your problems to feel the emotions that are connected to those memories of those problems are old circuits in your brain, and every problem has an emotion associated with it. If thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body, and how you think and how you feel is your state of being, most people's entire state of being is in the past. So then once they're living in the familiar past, we can know by fact that they're going to be in a predictable future. So then how do you get a person then to lower the volume to those emotions so that they can begin to take their attention off the problems in their life, and it's their attention and anticipation of how they expect it to show up that keeps their observation from a quantum model, the reality being the same. So I'm thinking the same things. I've got the same people in my life, so by definition I'm going to experience those same problems or that. Yeah, and the best way to say it is that it's not your personality that's creating your personal reality. It's your personal reality that's creating your personality. You're at effect of your environment, and your environment is actually controlling your thoughts and feelings. So if you said to me, well, I'm angry today because of this person, I'm upset because of this problem, then what you're really saying, just from an objective standpoint.
So the questions are actual questions that coincided with milestones or inflection points, or just a fork in my own life. And some of them would be, for instance, what if I did the opposite for 48 hours? It's a very recoverable experiment, right? If it doesn't work, then I can always go back to what I was doing. Doing the opposite meant making my calls between, let's just say, 6:30 and 8:30, and then 5:30 to 7:30. And it was just a hypothesis. Maybe I can get a hold of the people I need to get a hold of more effectively when the gatekeepers aren't there.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And I started booking more meetings and closing more deals than the majority of the guys in the company. And it was just from asking that question. What if I did the opposite for 48 hours? And you can apply that to many, many things. Right? Some of the others would be, well, this is one I asked in 2004. If I had a gun against my head and could only work 2 hours per week, what would I do? I know it's impossible. What would I do? And that type of ludicrous question was necessary to break my thinking patterns and stress test my own assumptions of what was possible. And you find that that is a learnable skill. I'll give you another question that I think you'll really like, which is one of the 17. What can I learn from the people I hate the most?
Wow.
Now this does two things. It forces you to separate your morality from your search for effectiveness.
Right.
It also helps you to develop some degree of empathy. And those two are very powerful. So what can I learn from the people I hate most?
Wow.
Is a very, very useful practice. So I'll journal on that very often. In terms of patterns, we were talking about some of the things I've spotted. Meditation or journaling are performed by close to 100% of the people that I interviewed.
Okay, the question is, do you, the person asking the question, have what it takes to do what Dan did? You never know. But no one does know initially, up front. You have to try. You have to swing at the plate. You have to, take risk. You have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to make commitment. And just do it. I keep saying that. I mean, it's simplistic. It sounds like I'm, I haven't thought the question to, but that's not the point at all. The point is, after 21 years of coaching and after almost 45 years of doing this myself and being a high-performance person in 6 decades, I realize you just got to do it.
Famous lesson about a margin of safety, that you don't drive a truck that weighs 9,900 pounds across a bridge that says limit 10,000 pounds, because you can't be that sure about it. If you see something like that, you go down a little further down the road and you find one that says limit 20,000 pounds, and that's the one you drive across.
Just how committed are you to your goal? How important is it for you? And what are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve it? If you find yourself fully committed, motivation will follow.
Thoughts influence feelings, and feelings determine how you view your work. You have a lot of thoughts in your head, and you always have a choice of which ones to focus on, the ones that will make you emotionally stuck, fears, doubts, or the ones that will move you forward, excitement, experimenting, trying new things, stepping out of your comfort zone.
Motivation means action, and action brings results. Sometimes your actions fail to bring the results you want. So you prefer to be nice to yourself and not put yourself in a difficult situation. You wait for the perfect timing, for an opportunity, while you drive yourself into stagnation and sometimes even into depression. Get out there, challenge yourself, do something that you want to do even if you are afraid.